Hello everybody. In this short tutorial, I'm going to show you how to show stimuli in a circle format. And that's not something that is done so often, but some people need it, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's call this experiment that I'm making here polar example. And what I'm going to type in now first is here in the experiment code, I'm going to create a task and I call it, like for this task, I call it my test. And it's a very simple experiment in which in every trial we just draw points on a circle. For this we use the for loop. So I'm going to type for, and then I use here what is in PsyToolkit a local variable. And a local variable is just a variable that is not keeping its value across one trial. Then you need to say its values. And I do here in 1, 2, 3, 6, 0, 0. Now, the reason why I say this is because, of course, one circle has 360 degrees, and inside Toolkit, when we work with degrees, we often work in tenths of degrees. So then you have 3,600 tenths of degrees. Now, I loop this, for example, by 200. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an array variable, and let me call it coordinates. And then I say circle, and that is an instruction to create actually a polar coordinate. This is the key thing. And I would say I want it at screen center. That is the central coordinate. Then the distance from the center should be 100 degree pixels, and the angle in tens of degrees should be the value of the variable that I'm looping through. And then I'm going to use those coordinates to show, say for example, a rectangle. Show rectangle. And then first you give the coordinate, the xy coordinates. So that's in this case what I just calculated. So that is the so basically this creates an array. You see and that's an array of and there will be two values in it, an x and y coordinate. And that's where we show the rectangle. Now let's make it a small rectangle, say 10 pixels wide and 10 pixels high in the color green. And let's for the fun, like after that we put in a little bit of delay so that you get a circle that is being created slowly. And then we go back and then we end the for loop for end. And that's all we have in this experiment. And before I um, explain it more, I want to quickly also show you what it actually looks like because maybe some of you haven't even seen it. So I'll save it. Now you know PsyToolkit, you need to compile, and then you can straight away run the code in your browser and see what happens. How cool this is. So because of 10 trials every time, basically we have a circle that is created, um, 100 pixels from screen center. Now let's go back to the code and let's go over it one more time. So what are we actually doing? So we have a task. As you know, that's basically what happens in one trial. And in this trial, we have a for loop. And with a for loop inside Toolkit, you can basically cycle through values. So in this case, if I wouldn't have this by 200, I would go for the value I cycle through the values of 1 to 3600, 3600. But sometimes you can say, well, I don't want every value, say by steps of 100. So then you go 100, 200, 300, all the way to 3600. You can be 100 or 200. We just did 200. So we can do 100, and then you get more of these little rectangles. This is the key thing here in this tutorial. So an array variable inside Toolkit is indicated by the signs end. So we create a new array. We call it just coordinates. We can call it anything, but I just chose the word coordinates, and it will hold two values if I call it with this instruction circle. And there are four parameters. So you say what's the center of that circle? In this case, it's the screen center in PsyToolkit. It's 0, 0. How far from the center should the stimuli be shown, the coordinates be drawn, and then what angle? And that's how it works. And then you show a rectangle exactly at those two coordinates. It could be anything. It can be a rectangle. It could be a text. So for example, I could change this. Show text. I could say show text. And then instead of uh, so if you do show text, you need to well, you need to quickly make. You might want to say, well, how do you do text? Show text, right? So you do the text first and then the coordinates. So you show, say for example, the word let's say hello, and you have the coordinates and you say a text color. You don't need to give that, by default is white. So if you do it like this, it shows the word hello in a circle. And the delay 100 is just how much time there is between 2 points on the circle. And here the my block task that just says how many times we do this trial. So if we compile this and run the experiment, and you see now you draw the word hello. Now that doesn't look great because there are too many hellos basically, and that's maybe, you know, it's maybe not something that you want. Now this is just to show what can be done, but in this case you probably want, say, 300. Then there's more spacing between the words hello. So if we compile it and we run it, then let's see, then that looks better. Now, is this useful? Uh, yeah, I think so. Because in some experiments, you just want to place things around a circle. For example, that can be for, you know, because, like then every item is equally far away, for example, from a central fixation point. So there are many ways you can do this. Now, in this case, we used a for loop. Very nice to loop through values. You need to play around a little bit with this if you want to use polar coordinates, but basically the key line here is this. Now, if you want to know more, look at this syntax overview. For example, if you go to uh, the task, there is actually um, in the short documentation, there is here actually the set circle example, and that's exactly what we did today. So uh, as always, I think the command overview is a really key thing when you're coding PsyToolkit. Well, do you have questions? Just leave a comment with a question below the video. If you like it, please like the video. It really helps PsyToolkit. And also please subscribe to the channel. We like to make these short tutorial videos. This is a little bit an advanced topic, but it is something that people asked for, so I wanted to make sure it's here. Well, good luck and see you next time for another tutorial video.